Lagos is a city that is so dear to me. I was born in Lagos, I grew up in Lagos, and I've lived most of my life in Lagos. So what better way to pay tribute to this lovely, crazy city where I was born and raised than to do a two-part series on books that are set in Lagos. So today I'm going to be doing part one of my two-part series of books that are set in Lagos. So let's get started. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Rachel here. As always, if you are new here, welcome. I create content on books, book recommendations, bookish tips, book reviews, and a whole lot of other book videos. I also create content on mental health and lifestyle in general. So hit that subscribe button so you never miss a thing, and you can like this video so that it is referred to other viewers as well. And if you are not new, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So like I said, today I'm going to be doing a two-part series on books that are set in Lagos. These books cut across different genres, but mostly in the fiction genre, and most of them are written by Nigerian writers, if not all of them. Like I said in the intro, Lagos is a city that I'm super excited about. Like, it's one of those cities that you love from afar. If you don't know where Lagos is one of the most popular cities in the world. It's in Nigeria, which is in Africa. So get that right. It's in Nigeria. Nigeria is a country and Africa is the continent. Lagos is a popular, well-known place for hustle and bustle. It never sleeps. It is always awake. There is always mad traffic. It is crazy. You meet the craziest type of people in Lagos. Like, if you're coming to Nigeria for the first time, Lagos is definitely a place that you want to go and visit. You want to see the nightlife. You want to see daytime. There's so many beautiful things to see in Lagos. There are also so many crazy places. There's so much culture. There's so much arts and craft. There's so much history in Lagos. Like, Lagos is the history in Lagos, even pre-colonial times, like, it is a lot. So Lagos is one of those cities that I'm actually very excited about and passionate about, and I enjoy loving from afar. To me, it's one of those places that you go and visit for like a couple of weeks and then you get out. Having lived there my whole life, you know, I can say that. When I read these books, I actually realized that the authors did an amazing job in the description of Lagos and sort of brought it to life just through words and imagery. So if you've never been to Lagos and you want to travel to Lagos because you don't have the opportunity to do so, these books are the perfect books for you. And if you live in Lagos, or you've been to Lagos, or you're a Nigerian, then these books are also amazing because you just see Lagos literally jump right out of the pages. So let's get into it. My first book set in Lagos is Black Ass by Igoni Barrett. So I read this book, I think, in 2020, and I did a review of it. It's up on my channel. This book was a lovely read for me anyways. It was lovely. It addressed themes that were not very popular and are still not very popular in Nigeria at the time, in terms of sexuality and identity and things like that. But one major thing about this book that I really loved was the way the author was able to describe Lagos. Lagos literally jumped out of the pages of this book, and the book is very wordsy. So if you're not somebody that is patient in terms of words, like, the imagery is next to none. It cannot be compared to anything. It's simply amazing, and I really did enjoy it. Furo Wariboko, born and bred in Lagos, wakes up on the morning of his job interview to discover he has turned into a white man. As he hits the city streets running, still reeling from his newfound condition, Furo finds the dead ends of his life open out before him. As a white man in Nigeria, the world is seemingly his oyster, except for one thing. Despite his radical transformation, Furo's ass remains robustly black. Funny, fierce, inventive, and daringly provocative. This is a very modern satire with a sting in its tail. So yeah, I thought it was very funny. I thought it was exciting. It really looked nice, like, from the perspective of, in quotes, a white man in Lagos, and how I think the author did a great job in terms of description and in terms of the Lagos narrative and in terms of the imagery, especially with what Furo went through. And a lot of places that he described in the book are very popular places in Lagos, so you really had an idea of what Lagos is about. This is a top recommendation for a book set in Lagos. My next recommendation is Everything Good Will Come by Sefi Atta. This is also a fiction book like Black Ass. I love Sefi Atta. I love what she writes. I think that she writes amazingly well. Every time in her books that she describes like 80s or 70s or 90s Nigeria, it's always on point. Everything Good Will Come is a phenomenal book with interesting themes and that really brings Lagos to life. This book is set in the 70s, precisely like 1971. Nigeria is under military rule at this time, and it just brings Lagos into life as it was when Nigeria was under military rule. I also did a review on this book on my channel, so you guys can check it out. It is 1971, a year after the Biafran War, and Nigeria is under military rule. Though the politics of the state matter less than those of her home to Eniton Taiwo, an 11-year-old girl tired of waiting for school to start, will her mother, who has become deeply religious since the death of Taiwo's brother, allow her friendship with the new girl next door, the brash and beautiful Sherry Bakari? Everything Good Will Come charts the fate of these two African girls, one born of privilege and the other a lower class half-caste. One who is prepared to manipulate the traditional system while the other attempts to defy it. So it's written in the first person voice of Enito, and you get to explore life through her eyes, and you see a lot of tragedy, family strife, and war-torn Nigeria in the 70s, especially as told from the perspective of Lagos. So this is a top tier book that is also set in Lagos and really brings Lagos to life from its pages. My next recommendation is Swallow by Sefi Atta. Like I said, I'm a huge fan of Sefi Atta. This is a Sefi Atta fan account. Swallow is one of those top tier books. It was recently adapted to TV by Kunle Afolayan, and it's on Netflix. You can read the book and then go and watch the movie. A lot of people actually watched the movie without reading the book, and they didn't get the essence of what Swallow was about. I have actually done a review on the book, and I don't think I posted the review on my YouTube channel. I think it was on my blog, but then I did a review of the Netflix adaptation. I was not particularly surprised at, the Netflix adaptation. I read the book and I knew what I was expecting when I went into it. So a lot of people watched the movie and felt like, oh, is this what Swallow is about? All the hype, everything, it's boring. But really, Sefi Atta doesn't really write to shake up your world. Her writing and the beauty of her writing is what makes her who she is. Her descriptive narratives, her imagery, her characterization, the development of her characters, and the way she writes is what brings her to life. So as far as I'm concerned, not every book should be adapted into TV, and Swallow was probably one of them. I really appreciated what Kunle Afolayan did. You can go and check out my video on the review. I had a lot of reservations, but this is a proper top tier book, and it is set in the 80s in Lagos. So like I said, if you want to have an idea of what Lagos was like in the 80s, in the 70s, Sefi Atta is your go-to author, especially for fiction books, to really understand what Lagos was about. In the 1980s in Lagos, the government's war against indiscipline and austerity measures are in full swing. A succession of unfortunate events leads Tolani, a bank secretary, to be persuaded by her roommate Rose to consider drug trafficking as a way to make a living. Tolani's subsequent struggle with temptation forces her to reconsider her morality and that of her mother, Arikez, as she embarks on a turbulent journey of self-discovery. That's basically what the book is about. But the imagery and the descriptive nature of this book of Lagos, she really brought Lagos to life in the 1980s. Perfect description. My fourth recommendation of a book set in Lagos is Welcome to Lagos by Chibundo Onozo. Now, I think I did a review on this book as well on my YouTube channel, so you guys can check this out. In summary, I loved the idea and the plot behind this book. The execution fell flat on its face as far as I'm concerned. This is a book that I would have preferred in the first person narrative of each of the characters, but it was written in third person narrative and the continuity fell short. However, the description of Lagos was very nice. I thought that the author did a good job in terms of describing Lagos and in terms of bringing Lagos to life from the pages of the book. There were a lot of like stereotypical things about Lagos, of course, which I didn't mind. I mean, the author was literally bringing a place to life. But in terms of the whole book, you guys can check my review on this particular book. So deep in the Niger Delta, Officer Chike Amobi deserts the army and sets out on the road to Lagos. He is soon joined by a wayward private, a naive militant, a vulnerable young woman, and a runaway middle-class wife. The shared goals of this unlikelihood, freedom and life, new life. So just imagine these 5 characters all jump into the same bus and say that they're going to Lagos. Each of them, they're living different aspects of their lives and they just want an escape, and then they end up going to Lagos and a lot of things happen that are crazy things, a lot of twists and turns. So imagine how this is not written in the first person narrative. Like, I don't understand what you're thinking when you're not writing this in the first person narrative. So yeah, it's contemporary Lagos and all of that. And so they basically strive to find their places in Lagos with its hustling and bustling. There's a lot of sleeping under the bridges. There's a lot of interplay with even area boys and just people who live in Lagos in the nightlife and things like that. So yeah, it was a very, very nicely done portrayal of Lagos and the city, and just a story of courage and survival. That's basically what I'll say. It was a good effort, but man, the execution for me in terms of the plot fell flat on its face. You can go and check out my review on this one. My next recommendation is A Bit of Difference by Sefi Atta. Like I said, Sefi Atta is world class when it comes to describing Lagos and making her book set in Lagos. A Bit of Difference was a book that I did not particularly like the main character, and it almost affected me not liking the book, but I actually loved the way this book was written. I loved the imagery, I loved the characterization, I loved everything, but I just could not fall in love with Diola, who was the main character. But this book also brought Lagos to life through its pages. At 39, Diola Bello, a Nigerian expatriate in London, is dissatisfied with being single and working overseas. Diola works as a financial reviewer for an international charity. When her job takes her back to Nigeria in time for her father's 5-year memorial service, she finds herself turning her scrutiny inward. In Nigeria, Diola encounters change in her family and in the urban landscape of her home, and new acquaintances who offer unexpected possibilities. Diola's journey is as much about evading others' expectations to get to the heart of her frustration as it is about exposing the differences between foreign images of Africa and the realities of contemporary Nigerian life. So this book was actually really well written, and one thing I loved about the portrayal of Lagos in this book was that it examined Lagos not from the crazy hustle and bustle, you know, oh, there's so much poverty, people are hungry kind of thing. It explored Lagos from the soft life perspective, from the rich people's perspective. So I think Diola came from old money, what we would call old money, and you find a lot of people who come from old money, who, like the early Lagos settlers, who were either in politics then, who were credible, or who just inherited a lot of land and property from their families and their grandparents and their great-grandparents and live in Lagos. So you find a lot of such properties in Ikoyi, in Victoria Island, and a lot of these properties are very, very expensive as of now. So Diola lived that kind of life, and it explored, you know, she's coming from London, she lives in Lagos, the tush parts of Lagos, and so you could see that portrayal of Lagos. A lot of people generally have this perception about Africa, first of all, like, oh, it's some, you know, and for those of you who are my subscribers who are not living on the African continent, are not from Africa, there's this perspective that, oh, it's one continent where there is, you know, there are people hanging on trees. Somebody one time commented on a video of mine and was saying, oh, are there bookshops in Africa? And well, I guess to a large extent that's the limited knowledge that a lot of people have about Africa, not to now talk about the countries in Africa. A lot of people don't even know that Nigeria is a country in Africa and Africa is not a country. And so when they hear Lagos, they're like, oh, Lagos, Africa, I'd like to come to Africa. Like, whenever you talk to your friends, try and find out the name of the country that you're going to, if you're going to visit. If you say you want to visit somewhere in Africa, try and know the name of the country, and that would also help people that you talk to, you know, to just know more about the continent and the countries that are in it. So there's a lot of negative portrayal about Lagos and Nigeria and even Africa in general, but this book is one of those books that very, very reality based, especially with modern contemporary living in Lagos and in Nigeria. And even back then, even in the 70s, 80s, like people were actually living large and living proper in Lagos, and you can still see remnants of that even when you explore the city. So if you're looking to see, I mean, it's not always about traffic and agberos and hustlers and danfo buses, and there's a whole other side of Lagos, Nigeria that a lot of people don't know. And if it's a city that you might never get the opportunity to visit, but it's from things that you see, this particular book, A Bit of Difference, would help you really see that luxury life in Lagos. My final, I saved the best for the last for this particular, but that's a little bit biased, for this particular part of the series, and that is Butter, Honey, Pig Bread by Francesca Equiasi. Wow, this book is simply phenomenal. Of course, I have a review of it on my channel. This book is amazing. I loved it. I enjoyed it. One thing I loved about this book was the fact that it was set in multiple places. So I think there was like a little bit of Canada, there was a little bit of like different places, but there was Lagos as well. And it was Lagos that of course I could relate to the most, because I hadn't lived in the other cities that this book was set in. But the mixture of, food and cuisine in a way that was so intimate and nice that almost made you fall in love with cooking. And as me, who doesn't even like to cook, I literally found myself falling in love with cooking from this book. This was a beautifully written book, and this synopsis is quite long, but I'm gonna read it so that you guys can actually go and pick it up. And I felt like this depiction of Lagos too was actually very good. And like I said, for A Bit of Difference, it wasn't one of those rough anyhow Lagos type of things. It was also from the side of luxury, people that are well settled, people that are doing well, that have lived abroad in different cities and come back to Lagos and are living in affluent areas of Lagos. So you get to see Lagos living from a more affluent angle. Spanning 3 continents, Butter, Honey, Pig Bread tells the interconnected stories of 3 Nigerian women, Kamberinachi and her twin daughters, Kehinde and Taye. Kamberinachi believes that she is an Ogbanje or an Abiku, a non-human spirit that plagues a family with misfortune by being born and then dying in childhood and to cause a human mother misery. She has made the unnatural choice of staying alive to love her human family, but lives in fear of the consequences of her decision. Kamberinachi and her 2 daughters become estranged from one another because of a trauma that Kehinde experiences in childhood, which leads her to move away and cut off all contact. She ultimately finds her path as an artist and seeks to raise a family of her own, despite her fear that she won't be a good mother. Meanwhile, Taye is plagued by guilt for what her sister suffered and also runs away, attempting to fill the void of that lost relationship with casual flings with women. She eventually discovers a way out of her stifling loneliness through a passion for food and cooking. But now, after more than a decade of living apart, Taye and Kehinde have returned home to Lagos. It is here that the 3 women must face each other and address the wounds of the past if they are to reconcile and move forward. Totally enjoyed. And if you're looking for something partially set in Lagos, this is a good recommendation for you. Like I said, I did a review on, I think, if not all these books on my channel, so you guys can check them out. If you've read any of these ones, let me know in the comments. And if you have other books that are set in Lagos that you really enjoyed, please drop them in the comments as well. So thank you so much for sticking with me for part 1 of this series. Part 2 is going to go up next. I had to divide it because I didn't want this video to be too long, so look out for that. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like this video so that it is referred to other viewers as well. And I will see you in my next one. Bye.